It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. I am getting a headache reading this article.
Okay. What is it?
All right, here we go. You ready for this? Oh, my God, this is liberalism in action.
Is it? Okay.
Denver Mayor Mike Johnston wants to add a 20% service charge to local restaurant tabs and then tax the 20% to help restaurants cope with the city's minimum wage and promote what he called pay equity among tipped and non-tipped employees. Let me read that again.
Yeah, I was going to say, can you go over that one more time?
That's why I'm getting a headache.
Yeah.
Reading this article. Denver mayor wants to add a 20% service charge to local restaurant tabs and then tax it to help restaurants cope with the city's minimum wage and promote what he called pay equity among tipped and non-tipped employees. Let me get this here. He goes, on the local level, he suggested collecting a 20% service charge would generate revenue that then could be spread equally across all employees. But what's interesting for us as a city is if you could pool those service charges, you could share it with all the staff. Interestingly for us, if you had a service charge that comes from above the line in the bill, which means it's also taxed. If you had a $100 tab, now you put a 20% service charge. You pay $120, we tax $120. I still don't get this.
Oh, no. Because your tab has a tax. The $100 would have a tax before this, right? But if you tip...
the tip wouldn't have the tax.
Doesn't have a tax. If it's a service charge, he's saying they'll be able to tax the 20% too. The full 120 would be taxed instead of the 100, just the 100. So they can get more revenue. They're going to force this on the consumer, and then, of course, you're going to pay the taxes on that service charge.
He said, we know it's a challenge, noting that restaurant labor costs have increased 200% over the last 10 years. We've had 400 restaurants close in Denver over the last 3 years, and we know a big part of that is the increase in the minimum wage, and we want folks to make more money.
Well, it's
good God.
A big part of listen to what you just said, what you just read. A big part of the closures,
yes,
is the raise in the minimum wage, which is the government falsely raising the value of any given role in the workplace. And he's saying, we're going to do that even further. We're going to raise it again. What do you think is going to happen, you moron? Yeah, well, we raised it through minimum wage, and that put a lot of restaurants out of business. So let's do this, as if we raise it a different way.
Yeah,
that it's not going, because what he wants you to believe, or what he actually believes, I don't know which, is that that the consumer doesn't pay it when there's a cost in the raise in the cost increase in the minimum wage. Any wage increase is passed on to the consumer. Of course, we know that. That's why those restaurants are gone, because they can't raise their prices to the point that the market will bear. The market being us, the consumer. And he's saying a surcharge on the consumer will work because that's the consumer paying it. Either way, the consumer pays it. How do they not know these things? Are they really this stupid?
And then the other problem is they say that because tip servers are making both the city's minimum wage, which is way up there, plus tips compared to like cooks and dishwashers, who he said make a lot less. At the state level, efforts are afoot to institute, my God, you talk about what happens is government puts in a policy, it doesn't work, and so they put in more policies in an attempt to correct the policy that doesn't work.
That's what I just said.
By charging you more.
He just pointed out that so many restaurants closed because of the increase in minimum wage, so we want to increase wages this way, which, of course, is going to have the same result even further.
But then they say that there are efforts afoot now to have a tip offset in jurisdictions that have adopted a minimum wage that is higher than the state's threshold. Under House Bill 1208, local governments with minimum wages above the state's $11.79 per hour for tipped employees, currently Denver, Boulder, and Edgewater, would be required to impose tip offsets equal to $3.02, plus the difference between the local and state government's minimum wage amounts. In Denver, the bill would lower restaurant workers' minimum wage by $4 an hour, according to fiscal analysis.
Yeah.
What they're saying is because of all of this, the tip workers make too much, but the people behind the scenes don't make enough.
Yeah.
And so they wish to, well, there's that bill, 1208, and then there's the other bill that he's talking about that would add a 20% service charge to all the local restaurant tabs, which could then be taxed to help. Oh, my God, you talk about trying to manipulate an economy, the minutia of what you get into once you start with this crap.
Well, because look, I don't know what he knows or believes, or in terms of how it works, but there is also a chance that he knows full well how it works, and then he can just sell this politically as, no, the consumer is going to be, the customer is going to be the one paying for it, which is stupid.
Sponsor says the bill aims to address the unintended consequences of a 2019 law that allowed local governments to establish minimum wages above the state threshold. Critics said it cuts wages at a time of soaring expenses for workers. Well, which it would.
Yeah.
If you did that. You'd be cutting wages for some to help others because of the unintended consequences of the original bill that you passed.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Wow. Now I have a headache. What is wrong with
Then Johnson said the city could then share revenue from the marginal new tax back with the restaurants. We'll take some additional revenue, but we could support the restaurant's institution by we're giving you some of your money back to the individuals. My God.
Yeah.
What's the paperwork involved in that?
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, how many new employees you have to hire just to do that, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry I sounded confused, but I just saw the story before the top of the hour. I'm reading it. I'm getting a headache as we're going into this break. I'm like, this is what happens when liberals just don't say, let the marketplace do it.
Yeah, right.
I mean, my God, they're saying, okay, we instituted this, and then we instituted this bill, which allowed different localities to raise the minimum wage. But because they could raise the minimum wage here, then tipped employees, we raised the minimum wage for tipped employees, and tipped employees ended up making a lot more than we wanted them to make, so we got to lower their wages in order to increase the people behind the scenes in the restaurants.
Yeah.
So we're going to add a 20% tax, 20% surcharge to anybody who comes in the restaurant. What about adding a 20% tax like that? Because they're not lowering any taxes for the restaurant. So you're going to add this 20% surcharge in there. And that's not going to affect businesses. And you're doing this because you've lost so many dang businesses.
Right, yeah. That's the whole reason is.
So then the intended consequences of the 27 bills that you passed to try to even out everything and manipulate the economy for every single employee continues to backfire. So you come up with new laws and new paperwork.
Wow. I don't know how many city bureaucracies you're going to have to create for this. It's insane. That's insane. But that's the left for you. because they're not going to do the free market approach. You know, the competitive spirit of free markets. No, we must beat this into the ground until every restaurant is closed. Then they'll get on their whole food desert thing. Oh, we got a food desert. You created that.
Wow.
You wonder why you don't have restaurants. We talked about this with California. These blue states they're never going to learn. It's not going to change in our lifetime. The people are going to keep voting for these kind of idiots. I don't know why.
If I get a headache trying to figure out what your new tax plan is,
it really is.
There's a
it's
problem.
A maze. It is a maze, not amazing. It's a maze. You're just going around in circles. I know what we'll do. Since raising the minimum wage closed restaurants, we'll raise wages a different way. It'll be perfectly fine. Everybody calm down.
By the way, all the money isn't going back to the restaurants. We're going to take part of the revenue and give part of it back to the restaurant,
right?
In order to distribute to the employees. How do you do that? The government's going to be involved in a subsidy to employees they will give to the employees outside of the
a paycheck, or what is that? How does that work? You show up on Friday? How does that work?
Because technically, then the government would be subsidizing the workers they wish to subsidize at particular restaurants.
And what's the biggest problem you'll run into with servers on that?
Well, their pay might get lowered because they're not the ones getting it. It would be people behind the scenes.
But even worse, they take cash home with tips every day.
Yeah.
In fact, employers right now on the whole gig economy thing, they're running into, there are some fast food employees. In fact, I saw a sign that said, for one, and it's a large chain of fast food, said you can get paid daily if you work for them. You know, they were trying to get people to apply for jobs. Well, that's what they're competing with is, you know, for servers, that's always been the case. If you work that day and you hope to take home some cash from making tips. And in the, you know, Uber driver economy, the gig economy, same thing. You get money into your account that day. Well, if the city is saying here, yeah, we'll redistribute that money based on an average.
Well, what they're saying is it would lower the tips, or excuse me, it would lower the minimum wage for the tip workers by $4 an hour while adding a 20% surcharge, which means they would take less home in tips because of that 20% surcharge, where some of it would go to the government for revenue and some of it would go back as a subsidy to not the tip workers, but the chefs or chefs, cooks, people behind the scenes.
All employees, yeah.
Oh, my God. Well, I'm not moving to Colorado anytime soon.
Yeah.
That's pure insanity. That's absolute insanity.
Well, and you're going to do it on an average per restaurant, because some restaurants, you may have better servers or better food or whatever, and they make higher tips. They make more money.
I don't think that's going to go down well. We're going to be cutting the pay of tip servers, and that's coming from the government.
Yeah, let's see if this thing flies.
866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by Howes Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
Food prices are expected to continue rising in 2025. That's per Agriculture Department economist Megan Schweitzer in providing the latest food price outlook Thursday at the USDA Ag Outlook Forum.
For all food, we're predicting prices to increase by 3.4% in 2025. Food at home or groceries, we're predicting to increase by 3.3% in 2025. And food away from home or restaurants and eating out, we're predicting to increase by 3.4% in 2025.
The drivers for the projected year-over-year total food price increases: eggs, yes.
Through the rest of the year, we're predicting prices for eggs to increase by 41.1%.
That annual average price change based on 2024 and not this past January. Yet regarding other food products,
We're predicting above average price growth in sugar and sweets, predicted to grow by 6.4%, and non-alcoholic beverages are predicted to grow by 4.4%.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I just love this one.
Yeah.
Our audio cut of yesterday. You ready?
Okay.
This is Trump being asked if he still thinks Zelensky is a dictator. All right. They're meeting today. Here we go.
Them is not the best.
Mr. President, do you still think that Mr. Zelensky is a dictator?
Did I say that? I can't believe I said that. Next question.
You know,
He just next question
when I
moves on.
When I read that, I figured he would have a smile on his face. There was no smile. There was nothing.
Did I say that? I can't believe I
There was
said
not,
that.
there was nothing. It was just like.
By the way, it's not like he's denying he said it, really.
Yeah.
And then he just, next question. Just move on.
You know, when that signing happens today, it's the beginning of the end of the war.
Yeah, it is, because at that point, now Putin would be moving on American interests. Oh, you don't want to do that.
And Trump said it yesterday. You know, that in order to get a deal done, he said both sides are going to compromise, but part of the compromise is Russia giving back most of the land they've taken from
Yeah, right.
from them. I went, whoa, boy, has this ever changed?
Yeah,
in just the period of a week.
Right.
Like I say, though, I mean, I would let's the worst problem. Democrats have nothing against the Republicans right now. They've got nothing. Anything they have falls flat.
Yeah.
Again, with this, not that anything is lethal at all right now. It's just warnings, but the mistakes that have been made by the administration have been self-inflicted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
President's backed off on two of them, calling
Right.
Zelensky a dictator, and then and then the that was his back off. And then, you know, when he admitted last week that no, Ukraine did not invade Russia, or Ukraine did not start the war, not
Right.
invade.
Right.
Ukraine did not start the war.
Right.
And then, like I said, everything yesterday with Pam Bondi, I mean, with the Epstein files, that was just that's an unforced error. It's like, what are you doing? I mean, that's self-inflicted. I mean, with holding up the files and everybody smiling, and then, and the fury was not coming from Democrats. It was coming from the most loyal Trump supporters who want transparency on JFK and on Epstein. I know Pam Bondi also, before it was reached, also said MLK. But it's like, if you can't do transparency in all this, then how can we trust you for transparency on other things? That's coming from Trump's supporters, not the Democrats. And so the biggest question was, didn't she know yesterday? Because yesterday when she said, what did she say? I forgot what the words were, just basically explaining how horrible it was.
Right, yeah.
What was in it. It's like what was released, really almost all of it came out in court. We knew all that stuff already. There was really no new information. And you had Trump surrogates just, I was reading, I started laughing. It was like, fire Bondi, fire Kash Patel.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Yeah, it was a crazy day.
It was, and all self-inflicted.
Yep.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose.
And thank you.
So this was interesting yesterday. I saw this this exploded on social media just for a very short time. But it was the Fox News story that was on the transgender individual that was arrested for allegedly planting explosives at a Colorado Tesla dealership. As instances of violence and vandalism surge at Tesla locations. Now, it really wasn't that the suspect was planting explosives. It was, they had the name Lucy Grace Nelson and said she.
Right.
Well, you look at the picture of the suspect, without question, there isn't even a 1% chance that there wasn't a 1% chance that if you took 100% of the population, that 0.001 would say that's a woman.
Yeah.
That's how distinctive of a male face this guy has. And so you looked at it and you said, first off, I thought the story was wrong. I said, what are they talking about? This is a guy. It's not a... And people were saying the same thing, and then you went, well, wait a minute. What is it? Because Fox News is saying she, because in the first paragraph it didn't say transgender.
Right.
And it's just a reminder that Fox has always used the proper woke pronouns. Yeah. And they were getting blasted. I mean, just blasted.
It's also... not only is it woke,
it's inaccurate.
It's false reporting.
False, yes, it's false reporting. Yep. And I just thought it was interesting because the railing against Fox.
Yeah.
I was that didn't surprise me because it's not a particular person, it's a network, and that's happened before where they have done that and used the proper the improper the improper pronoun and just have been blasted saying, why would Fox do this? And you wonder, editorial speaking, what is the rule and regulation inside the newsroom for that? And so that was interesting.
Yeah.
What was the other one I wanted to? I had something else. Okay. All right, I thought it was something else that related to that. This story, listen to this here. Now, this is something that we've warned about for the longest time when we've said it's pure insanity where the left is going on energy in this country. And what they're doing, remember, when Biden ran for office, people forget about this. When he ran for office, he said, we can fully support the grid on solar and wind. Then when he got into office, remember they added a month or two in?
Yeah.
And nuclear too.
Yeah.
Because I realized how stupid it was.
Right.
You can't run the grid on solar and wind.
No.
And as we've always said about where the left is going and what the left has pushed in this country, what the Democrats have pushed is economic, energy, and national security suicide. Well, here we go. The supply and demand imbalance, this from John Solomon's Just the News. Christian Smith wrote this. The supply and demand imbalance across the power grid spells trouble for the future. The acceleration of fossil fuel retirement plans, coupled with long construction timelines for cleaner alternatives, means Pennsylvania needs to find a way to bridge the gap. And get this now, amid a projected 20% rise in energy demand over the next decade, 2 decades, 4 years.
Yeah.
For Governor Josh Shapiro, that means considering anything and everything to solve the problem, like leaving PJM, the regional transmission organization that manages the power grid for 65 million people east of the Mississippi. The step would be unprecedented as PJM traces its history to 1927 when utility companies in Pennsylvania and New Jersey banded together in the first-of-a-kind power pool Over the intervening 100 years, the organization grew its footprint across 13 states in the Mid-Atlantic and Midwest, becoming the largest power grid operator in the country. Pennsylvania is the P in PJM, at least for now, and it's where 25% of the power necessary to run the grid is generated. Quote, it has proven over the last number of years too darn hard to get enough new generation projects off the ground because of how slow PJM's queue is, Shapiro said Thursday. So we are exploring all options here in Pennsylvania, including removing ourselves from PJM, going it alone, and determining if that is a better course for both consumer pricing and power generation in our Commonwealth. Wow. The governor's comments come after he filed a complaint with federal regulators to compel PJM to adjust the math used in its power pricing auctions and speed up the approval of new energy projects. Without the action, the cost to run the power grid would have climbed 800% as of June 1st, meaning utility bills will skyrocket by roughly 30%, according to multiple estimates. Well, duh! You're a bunch of idiots for putting Democrats and liberals in charge who came up with these stupid ideas. Democratic governors in 4 other states of the power grid's territory, as well as consumer protection organizations, backed the complaint. Last month, PJM agreed to submit a price cap adjustment that would lower the cost from $500 per megawatt day to $325. That's a small victory, but short-lived. However, unless the generation gap is solved on Thursday, the governor joined Gecko Robotics and the nation's largest independent power operator to announce a new partnership that will use artificial intelligence and robots to monitor and defend existing generation facilities while attracting younger workers into the field. We need more generation and the incredible important work that's happened at Gecko. And as a result of this partnership, Getco, it's really crucial to deal with this time period. Well, you're the ones that caused it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you sit.
This was by design.
It's just like there's no other way that this could resolve itself, like we said the other day about the radical transgender movement. And we said probably a decade ago, people said, come on, stop it. We went, nope. We said feminism will die. Liberal feminism will be gone if this is allowed to continue. Liberal feminism is gone. Why? Now it's, they had the All People's March now. It's not even the All Women's March because they can't figure out what a woman is in the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
So it was the All People's March this year.
Yeah.
You and I remember what happened there.
Yeah.
Remember when the first year when Trump was inaugurated, they all wearing the pink hats?
Well,
the pink hats symbolized a vagina.
Right.
And the second year, there was a huge protest and fights and everything else because at that point they had to decide, and they were split, that all women don't have vaginas.
Right.
And that's where the split started. So now it's the All People's
Which
March.
makes it ambiguous. And there's nothing more exciting than things that are ambiguous. You know what I mean? Because you can't even, this is liberalism today. You can't even do a march for a group because of what we have pointed out. Eventually, the group that you're marching for is the oppressor.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to come full circle. So you start your march. It's been going on for years. Well, you're not going to be able to say that because eventually your march is going to implode. As you mentioned, for other reasons, it imploded after the first year. And now People's March. Well, what do you mean? For what? What is the cause? See, that's the thing. We can't even state the cause. Why is that? Because we're going to offend somebody. And you're going to offend everybody. Because you've created new victims along the way, you're offending everybody. So everything has to be ambiguous, which means the cause just kind of fades away.
Well, the potentially inseminated life forces march.
Impregnated persons. Well, we'll try this the old-fashioned way. This is them trying to be politically correct back in the day. The barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen public.
Oh. Eric said that.
That's 1948 PC.
Wow.
What do you think we should? Well, don't call them ladies. That's no lady. That's my wife. It's. It's just so, to me, seriously, I'm probably going to develop an allergy to popcorn. We're having so many popcorn moments.
No, I know. I mean, it's
an overdose of popcorn moments.
Well, I mean, like I said, the misogyny, that's the one thing that really is amazing, that Democrat women would allow the misogyny of the Democratic Party and just completely succumb to it. You know, because the whole thing that you got from Democrats and liberals was that liberal feminism was strong women.
Yeah.
Well, they just caved into the man.
Yeah. Exactly.
What the man says goes. I mean, they just walked all over by men, and they're happy about it.
To the extent that you can't even say woman anymore.
Yes. You can't say woman. They can't define a woman, and the man gets to define a woman.
Well, you can only say it's a woman if it's actually a man.
Right. Exactly. Liberal feminist went from the imagery of strong women.
I got a headache.
To women. Well, I can't say women. To life forces that are just being steamrolled right over by men.
Oh.
And they're happy about it.
They're loving it.
They're loving it.
They think they're heroes.
I mean, it's like the sorority on Animal House should have had, thank you, ma'am, I have another. Thank you, ma'am, I have another.
Yeah. It is
just
oh my
pure
gosh.
insanity. And finally, very quickly here, it's going to be very interesting today when Zelensky signs that deal, because that's the beginning of the end of the war.
Yeah.
And you saw it yesterday. Trump absolutely took a more pro-Ukraine stance.
Yeah.
From everything he said, you know, last week when he said, they're, of course, Russia invaded Ukraine. Russia started the war. And then yesterday where he said, what? I said that? Whatever.
On the dictator thing about
the dictator thing.
Zelensky.
Backed off on that. And then when that deal signed, then he said yesterday that, well, everybody's going to have to make compromises in this. And Russia's going to have to give up a significant portion of land.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that just changed everything. And then you see this, Marco Rubio saying there is a strong desire in his meetings with the Middle East again for an Abraham Accords expansion. The world has been dying for Trump's kind of leadership. I don't think they'd ever give him the Nobel Peace Prize. I hope I'm wrong.
Right.
But if he succeeds here in Ukraine and then starts moving in that direction of more Abraham Accords for countries in the Middle East,
right,
he will have done more for peace in the world than
a number of presidents put together.
I'd have to go back and look at history.
Well,
but I don't remember any like this in my lifetime.
Netanyahu at that joint press conference actually alluded to that, because he talked about the accord and he said, I think that's going to actually grow. And I thought, ooh, what does he know about what's coming? And then you have this from Marco Rubio now. So when Netanyahu mentioned it during that press conference, I thought, oh, okay, yeah, expanding that. And that's going to be a very interesting thing that will play out. It'll be interesting to watch it.
Wait a minute, I really don't care whether he wins the Nobel Peace Prize, because, remember, it doesn't mean anything since Arafat won it.
Exactly.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Oh, we talked earlier, Eric, about J.D. Vance and what he told the British Prime Minister Starmer yesterday. We forgot to add what John Kennedy said to the Prime Minister.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Here we go.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, we're going to play this audio here.
But he needs to put down the bong.
Oh, wow. And he addressed that. That was actually a couple of weeks ago. But he was referring to the the British Prime Minister.
Yeah,
at
right.
that point. But
right.
going to be interesting. Like I said, this signing today, this changes everything. It really, really does. Now Putin knows. It's like, well, whose side is Trump on? Any criticism that Trump was on Russia's side ended when that, ends officially when that deal is signed, because now America has skin in the game.
Right. Yep.
And when Trump came out and said yesterday, they're going to have to get a lot of their territory back, talking about Ukraine,
right,
I went, whoa, boy, has a lot changed in 10 days.
Yeah, it really has on many levels, including in the Trump administration, and in terms of the words he's using. It's going to be interesting to see.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.